able to be together, but this is a lovely substitute. Thought we would just start with a little bit of singing, so please join me from where you are. It is a dark and rainy, and it's a good day for a flood where I am right here. But of course on Shabbat, especially with our furry friends, we appreciate all that is beautiful. So I'll just start with Ma Yafeh Hayom. What is good today? Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Hine ma tovu manayim, sheverachim gam yachad. 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 Shabbat Shalom. Welcome if you are just joining us. My colleagues and I have also decided to say Shabbat Shalom, right? Welcome to, it is Parashat Noach this week, which you will hear much more about. And so, of course, we will be blessing the pets at some point. I want to say Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Rabbi Jordana, Rabbi Roxanne, and of course, our wonderful IHC staff members who are on with us, Amber Harder, Matt Hastings, Stephanie Shapiro. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being here. It's such a pleasure to see each and every one of you. We like to begin this time together just by singing a little bit, warming ourselves up. I know that many of you take a moment and type Shabbat Shalom into the chat for everyone, which I think is such a lovely thing. I would love to know, why don't you go ahead and type in the chat, let us know what the best part of your week was, or perhaps what you are looking forward to in the week to come, or even just on Shabbat. Song of Songs says, my beloved is mine, and I am my beloved's, who browses among the lilies. Awake, O north wind, and come, O south wind. Dodi Li, which is one of my favorite Psalms and one of my favorite melodies. So I hope you'll join me. Dodi Li Vani Lo Aroe Bashoshanim Dodi Li Dodi Li Vani Lo Aroe Bashoshanim Dodi Li Misot Ola Min Hamidbar Misot Ola Min Hamidbar Dodi Li Dodi Li Vani Lo Aroe Bashoshanim Dodi Li. It is beautiful to read through your highlights of the week. Of course, for all of us, for your clergy team and the IHC staff, it is definitely a highlight in our week to be able to gather together and to see all of your faces. So thank you for being here this evening. Rabbi Jordana.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I want to echo what my colleague just said, that this is definitely a highlight of our week. And I too love seeing all the wonderful things that you did in this week. But it is always wonderful to be able to celebrate Shabbat with you. I was amused today as I was looking over the weather forecast and it kept predicting rain. And I kept thinking to myself how incredibly perfect and appropriate it is for it to rain tonight, as we are going to be spending some time talking about the Parashat Noah. So if you have an animal of any kind that will be joining us for this special blessing tonight, we will be doing so at the very end of services after Hamotzi. So we will give you a moment to go and get that special animal in your life so they can receive their blessing. So Rabbi Brett is not with us this Shabbat, but I want to greet so many of our fantastic IHC staff members who are here, and to my colleagues as well. We did have a very good time planning this particular service, and we are excited about it. So I hope you enjoy what is in store for you tonight. And thank you again to all of the IHC staff members who work so hard behind the scenes to make our services go so smoothly. So tonight we will be focusing on prayers that are about creation and thanking God for the wonders in the world around us. We are also thanking God for the gifts that animals can bring to our lives. And I am not sure about all of you, but I am seeing a lot in the chat about people who went for walks or got outside this week enjoying the beautiful, beautiful weather. One of my favorite things about this week is that we were able to go for walks outside in the beautiful warm weather, but see the beautiful changing leaves that were all around us. I can imagine that you are very aware of the changing of the seasons, which is just about upon us. So as our services begin this evening, I wanted to share a translation from Mishkan Tefillah, our prayer book. This is a prayer, the Ma'ariv Arabim, that thanks God for the wonder and the beauty of creation. And it feels like a very fitting way for us to begin our services tonight. The prayer says, "Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Arabim." And one way that we appreciate the gifts of creation, and especially the gift of Shabbat, is through the lighting of the Shabbat candles. It is now my great pleasure to turn the services over to our board member, Sarah Freeman, who will light the Shabbat candles for us. Sarah?
Thank you, Rabbi Jordana. And I've been joined by not my household tonight. I'm home alone, but we've already got some of the pets out here. The cat was up here a minute ago, and I'm particularly honored to be lighting the Shabbat candles tonight because, like, even though my family's not here, it was 2 years ago for this Parsha that my daughter Nia became bat mitzvah. So for those of you, that was 2 years ago, which blows my mind. But let us welcome Shabbat together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you, Sarah. So beautiful. I cannot believe it's been 2 years. 2 years. And I will raise a glass to that. I shared my own highlight in the chat of being able to see a student through the end of his Torah portion, which is very exciting. So if you do have Kiddush with you, let us say the blessing together over the wine. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat l'chaim.
The prayer, the song Lahadodi, includes instructions from Torah. We are instructed in the Torah to both keep and remember Shabbat. Lahadodi includes both of these ideas in the first stanza. And its connections with these commandments from our text help us to incorporate both the idea of keeping and remembering Shabbat into our practice. So let us continue to welcome Shabbat, to honor Shabbat, to keep and remember Shabbat by the singing of Lahadodi together.
Lahadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela Lechadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Ishmi'anu El hameyochad Adonai echad Ushemo echad l'shem u'tiferet ve'litila lechadodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lechadodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor ha'beracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila lechadodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela Lechadodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela Hitoreri kiva orech kumi uri shir daberi כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. I often think of Shalom Aleichem as a prayer that harkens not only to my youth growing up, but something that really harkens back to a time when Jewish families would practice mostly at home and not necessarily make their way to and from synagogue, but really I picture almost a small family around a table with candles and perhaps something warm coming out of the oven, and maybe because I'm Canadian, but I picture it being very cold out there as we warm one another with our voices. And Shalom Aleichem asks that we pause and make space for the angels to come into our midst and into Shabbat. And we close by inviting them to depart in peace. Debbie Friedman changed the word seitchem, which means depart, to shuvchem, which means return. So always remember to come back in peace as well. She wrote this beautiful melody for Shalom Aleichem, and I hope you'll join me. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shuvchem, Shuvchem L'Shalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Try it with me. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
That's beautiful. I've never heard that melody before. Thank you for sharing it with us tonight. So I just read a book. It was recommended to me by a friend called Nobody Will Tell You This But Me. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to read this book, but it is a story written by a young woman, and it is honoring her grandmother. and the strong relationship that they had. And it is focusing especially on the women in her family and the connections between them. In this book, there was a passage that really jumped out at me. To me, it really epitomized what the Weihafta is all about and the way the love of Judaism can be passed from one generation to the next. The passage reads, "My brothers were grown and out of the house, and every week she'd invite them and their wives and their children to her dining room. She'd preside over the whole thing. She'd stand up and bang her fists on the table, take out one of my father's matchbooks from her apron pocket and strike a match. You could hear a pin drop as she did this. She'd light 2 long candles in their brass holders that she brought back from Russia and shake out the match. Then she'd put a kitchen cloth over her head and very slowly, raising her hands in front of her eyes, she would chant the prayers with a bowed head. Then she'd take the cloth off her head and fold it back on the table, just as her mother before her had done, and hers before her had done, and hers before her had done, and so on." The author goes on to say that she now does that with her family every Shabbat. So let us now continue by strengthening the link in our chains, the way we continue to pass the love of Judaism from one generation to the next through reciting the Shema and the Weihafta together.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. And let the high heavens declare your glory and the earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. So let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace, and then and only then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the parted shores of the sea. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedavim vesh nora tilot osei fele nora tilot osei fele malechutecha ra'u vanecha bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam ze eli anu ve'ameru Adonai imloch leolam va'ed Adonai imloch leolam va'ed.
The Vishamru prayer reminds us of the covenant that God made with us in Genesis, with the creation of Shabbat, words we read just last week in Parashat Bereshit. As the prayer says, for 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day God ceased from work and was refreshed. In one of my favorite books titled The Sabbath, written by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, he writes beautifully about the vital role that Shabbat has played in sustaining the Jewish people and allowing us to rest and cease from work. Heschel writes that Shabbat is a palace in time and an everlasting gift from God to the Jewish people. Hopefully, we are able to appreciate this gift and incorporate it into our lives. Hopefully, we too can take the opportunity to cease from our work, to connect with community, and to raise our voices in song. So let us continue our service now with the singing of Vishamru together, celebrating that gift, that eternal gift that is so precious, the gift of Shabbat.
Veshamru v'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ונפש, שבת ונפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We take a moment now and we pause and offer either the words of our heart or perhaps prayers that we have been thinking of all week. Perhaps just what I asked you to notice at the beginning of the service and share in the chat, something you want to close your eyes and offer a deep prayer of gratitude for. But in this moment, I will also ask Amber Harder, our clergy assistant and house manager this evening, to share a beautiful video. One of the incredible things about quarantine and this entire unprecedented situation is the fact that physical boundaries are no longer as relevant when it comes to sharing and praying and seeing one another and listening to one another's music. And this week, the cantorial community in particular was given the gift of a beautiful recording by the third year cantorial class at Hebrew Union College at the Debbie Friedman School of Sacred Music. And so I invite you to enjoy this setting of Hine Ma Tov.
Thank you for sharing that incredibly beautiful and peaceful version of Hine Ma Tov. Our thoughts now turn to the people in our lives who are in need of healing. Healing of mind, healing of body, healing of spirit. If there's any names that you would like us to add to the Mishaberach list, please go ahead and put them in the chat. I will now read a few names of those that have been given to me. And I apologize if we have made any mispronunciations of these names. Tonight, especially, we are thinking of Andy Hadley, Jill, Sam, and Simon Hadley, Julie Waters, Cecilia Katz, Andy Reed, Nancy Bonheim, Paul Spector, Rebecca Egoff, Deb Mills. In addition, we are also thinking about Nancy Kaufman, Janet Stockbridge, Javi Lev Goldstein, Billy Romer, Jackie Cohen, Linda Gross, Gazelle Chevalaz, sorry about that, Megan McLaughlin and Addie and family, Chris Carlock, Mika Miko, Myrna Blackwood, Toby Myers, Judy Pattinger, Jillian Scott, Rosemary Burkett, Mary Samtilio, Joanne Sloan, and Francis and Annie Koratz, Martin Lee, Cindy Merrill, and any other names. And again, if any names were mispronounced, it was not intentional. We do so wish healing on everyone in your lives, anyone in our lives who are in need of healing. We wish them strength and healing as we say the Mishaberach for them now.
Mishaberach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Mishaberach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
So my favorite way to wake up my children when we have an early flight or if they're looking very tired in the morning is through song, a specific song that was inspired by this week's Torah portion. It is full of cheer and makes me excited to be awake in the morning. And I will admit that my morning cheer doesn't always make my children want to engage in the day, but it does remind me of the Noah's Ark narrative. So if you happen to know this very special song, please sing it with me and Cantor Aviva.
Something tells me you know it. It goes like this. Oh, God said to Noah, there's gonna be a floody, floody. God said to Noah, there's gonna be a floody, floody. Get those children out of the muddy, muddy, children of our God. So rise and shine and give God your glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God your glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God your glory, glory, children of our God. I am offended that they don't participate or look half as excited when I sing Shalom Aleichem. Anyway, Rabbi Jordana, please.
So as a morning person, the cheery flow of this song matches my mood, especially if I am going to rise and shine and do something fun with my day. But when you stop to think about it, the upbeat rhythms of this song don't actually match with the Noah's Ark narrative. Although there are multiple Noah's Ark children's books and stuffed toys and nursery themes, at heart, it is a story about God destroying the earth and devastating the human population. So the cheer attached to this narrative does not necessarily fit the story. Or does it? That is the question that we will be exploring together tonight. So in Genesis 6, God is so frustrated with the corruption and the violence of the people on the earth that God decides to destroy the world with a flood. The text reads, the earth was filled with violence, and when God saw how corrupt the earth was, and people acting in a corrupt way upon the earth, God said to Noah, because the earth is so full of violence on account of people, I am going to wipe them off the earth. Noah, who the text says found favor in Adonai's sight, was also called a righteous person. The text says he was above reproach. He was considered to be the best of his generation, and God asked Noah to build an ark. The text is very specific on the details of the ark. It explains the kind of wood that is to be used, the length of the ark, and what the roof is supposed to look like. Noah is instructed to gather his wife, his sons, their wives, and pairs of every kind of animal on earth. But every time I read this narrative, I am struck by how God reacts to humans' behavior in it. In Genesis 6, we read, when God saw the wickedness of human beings and the directions of their thoughts, which were wicked, God regretted having made human beings, and God was heartsick. I find this line to be so powerful. Here it says God was heartsick. Our text, which is usually devoid of emotion, is now attributing the emotion of sorrow and heartache to God. The Hebrew verb used here can literally be translated as God's heart was sorrowing. In the Women's Torah commentary, it explains that these deep emotions link God with the human experience. Here, God is not a detached or removed figure, but an entity that is responsive and connected to humankind. This feeling of heartbreak is one that many of us experience in different ways during our lifetime. And in this text, God is feeling the pain, that kind of pain and disappointment with humans. God's heartbreak with humans' bad behavior indicates that God had high hopes for us, hopes that we would be these ideal creatures that God thought God was creating. God believed in the best of us and wanted to believe in the best of human nature. However, in this narrative, God was directly confronted with the worst of it. Perhaps this idealization of humans, God did not want to acknowledge the reality of us. There might have been truths about humankind that did not match the creatures that God thought that God had created. God's heartbreak could have stemmed from the pain of realizing that we were then and are now filled with imperfections. So this narrative shows a moment when reality does not meet the idealized versions of ourselves or others. And I can imagine that we have all had moments like this, when we expect someone in our lives to behave in a certain way and they do not. It can be frustrating or disappointing when this happens. Experiences like these can change the way that we think about that person when they don't live up to the hopes or expectations that we have of them. In these times, we can see their flaws, and this can starkly contrast with the idealized versions that we hold of them. And there are also times in our lives when we don't live up to our expectations of ourselves. We often have these impossibly high goals and ideals of ourselves, and sometimes we fail to live up to them. In truth, there are moments when all of us are not our best selves. We sometimes lose our temper with our loved ones. Sometimes we forget to do something that is important, or sometimes we say things that we don't mean. These are very human moments and times when we allow our flaws to show. Each time this happens, I am, like God, saddened and frustrated and disappointed. But the story of Noah's Ark provides hope in these times. God does not give up on us. Instead, God allows for a new beginning. God has come face to face with the reality of humankind with all of our flaws. In this moment, after feeling the pain of this realization, God adjusts and makes new expectations for us. In these new expectations, there is a promise of a beautiful tomorrow. After the flood has subsided and all of the inhabitants of the earth have departed, God blesses Noah and his family. In this moment, God has a new understanding of human nature and responds with a blessing. Genesis 9 reads, God then blessed Noah and his sons by saying to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. So not only does God bless Noah and his family, but God makes a new covenant with him, and by extension with all of us as well. Genesis 9 continues with God saying, here is a sign that I'm giving all of you as a covenant between me and you, and every living being with you down to the last generation. I have placed my bow in the clouds, and it will be a sign between me and the earth. Never again shall the waters become a flood and destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it, and I will remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living things, all that lives upon the earth. So not only does God bless Noah and his descendants, but all of us as well. God has made a new covenant with us and promises never to destroy the earth again. In doing so, God is not only accepting our flaws, but blessing the reality of who we are. This week's Torah portion ends by introducing us to Abraham and Sarai at the time. In this way, the text is also saying that it is only after God sees the reality of people that God can really truly enter into a deep relationship with us. The beauty of Noah's Ark isn't just in the rainbow, but it is in the fact that the rainbow came out after God was able to see the wholeness of us. Often it is when we can see the reality of each other, flaws and all, that others become even more beautiful to us. Sometimes when we go through an experience with someone, when our flaws and theirs shine through, then we can enter into a deeper relationship with them. We often, in our own way, create our new covenants with them. So the narrative of Noah's Ark enables us to have a deeper relationship with God, with each other, and with ourselves, because it teaches us all about the power of seeing the whole picture of each other, flaws and all. The message isn't to give up when we come across something that we don't like in ourselves or in each other. Instead, it is just the opposite. It is to accept those flaws and build on each other's strengths. We will never, ever be perfect, and nor will the people in our lives, but we can accept them and ourselves for who we really are. We can see what is beautiful in one another's flaws, enabling us to see all the colors of the rainbow in them. The rainbow is not only a sign for God to remember the covenant, but it is for us too, to see the full radiance in each other that is all around us. So I believe that the Noah's Ark narrative is truly about acceptance, tolerance, forgiveness, striving to be our best selves, and love. So if you ask me the question, should the Noah story be taught to children? My answer would be absolutely yes. So go ahead and decorate those nurseries, read those children's books, and proudly and loudly sing the Arky Arky song. The messages within the Noah's narrative are important for us and precisely the type of story that we should be passing along to our children. In doing so, we are accepting the flaws in ourselves and each other and making a better future together. We are all navigating the same water, and it is much so better when we do so together, allowing all parts of ourselves and others to shine brightly. Shabbat Shalom. It is now my great pleasure to turn the service over to our board member, Betsy Baki, to make some announcements for the congregation.
Thank you, Rabbi. First of all, Shabbat Shalom. It is so nice to see everyone this evening. And I have a few mentions and a few thank yous. So first of all, please check out our IHC website and Facebook page for updated programs and services. Big announcement for shoppers. I may or may not be one, but safe in-person shopping at the IHC gift shop is going to be starting November 4th. But be sure to check for the hours and the safety information. So just check out the website. Also, a reminder that November 3rd, like we don't know this already, but November 3rd is a week and a half away. So please don't forget to vote, and please help us be a 100% voting congregation. And I'd like to end with a few thank yous. Thank you to our clergy and staff for such a lovely service. And I would also like to add a special thank you to all of the committees at IHC who are working tirelessly on our behalf. There is a lot of work being done by volunteers at IHC. They do it because they love this community and they want IHC, to be the best that we can be. So thank you. You are truly appreciated. I also want to thank each and every one of you who have donated to the COVID High Holy Day Appeal. We can't do this without you. And on behalf of the board and our entire community, we are really grateful. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Betsy. And I hope you know that we are incredibly grateful for you and the board. And of course, I think our president, Eloise Paul, is on as well. And so very grateful. It takes a village, and I think we have the best one, if I can be so bold. So in a moment, I'm going to end our service, and we, of course, will bring in our furry friends and go down that path that we are all looking forward to. But before we do that, we do need to pause, and we need to recognize those who are not in our midst this evening. The absences that we feel in our everyday lives, the absences that we feel particularly when we come together as a community to celebrate something like Shabbat. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We are in a period of Shiva for Frida Sanders, mother of George Sanders. Steve Dill, the son of Susan Dill and father of Hannah Dill. And Yossi Cohen, a beloved member of the Indianapolis Jewish community and a Hebrew teacher to our whole community. We're in a period of Shloshim for Joyce Romer and Leonard Lenny Rubenstein. This Shabbat also marks the yahrzeits for Orville Alexander, David Anderson, Max Apter, Robert Baldwin, Jack Bernstein, Bernard Bogar, Harold Bortz, Mary Browning, Hans Bruckholz, Morris Calderon, Sylvia Cohen, Philip Cohen, Albert Cohen, Murray Davidson, Celia Ephraimson, William Ehrlich, Blanche Friedman, Zelda Gall, Morris Glick, Carol Greenwald, Michael Halberstadt, Sarah Hamer, Lily Herzog, Stephen Hester, Eva Jaffe, Edgar Joseph, David Kahn, Rose Kaufman, Philip Crozen, Israel Lazarov, Pat Lerman, Maurice Lipman, Leonard Mandel, Patricia Mantell, Lillian Owancia, Sylvan Perlov, Marion Rabin, Jacob Roth, Morris Shear, Max Shapiro, Sandy Simmons, Irene Solomon, Hyman Soshnik, Maurice Spasser, Lillian Strauschen, Louis Strauschen, Richard William Weisberger, Evelyn Winograd, Lynn Wool, and Florence Zeidman. If there is anyone else for whom you are mourning, I invite you to go ahead and share their name in the chat so that I may read it aloud. Blanche Friedman, Dr. Gary Friedman, Donna Dansker, Donna Kishbau, Sam Zoll, Lillian Zoll, Max Katz, Alan Goldberg, Richard Nasso, Naomi Analik, Mary Ostrom, and Michael Lang. We offer these ancient words of the mourner's Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. And we add these words that say not just the inhabitants of Israel, but all the inhabitants of the earth. We say ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, and together we say amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be for blessing.
So now it's my pleasure to have my children come and help us with the hamotzi. They already have their stuffed animals ready, just for the blessing of the animals, which is just about to occur. And we have this delicious challah here that we are looking forward to diving into momentarily.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
So if you have challah, now is a great time to get it out.
Thank you. Hello, Eleanor and Julian. This is the moment, friends. This is the moment we have been waiting for. I invite you to please go ahead and go wrangle the animals in your home. I am going to sing and usher in our animals together. The song that Rabbi Jordana, of course, mentioned earlier. So join me. We'll sing about the animals. It goes. The animals, they came in by twosies, animals, they came in by twosies, elephants and kangaroosies, children of our God. So rise and shine and give God your glory, rise and shine and give God your glory, rise and shine and give God your glory, children of our God. It rained and poured for 40 daisies, rained and poured for 40 daisies, almost drove those animals crazy, children of our God. I didn't write it. So rise and shine and give God your glory, rise and shine and give God your glory, rise and shine and give God your glory, children of our God. And now I am going to pass it over to Rabbi Roxanne Shapiro, who has prepared a beautiful blessing for all of our animals.
So I went to go get my cat, but I was wearing my hat, my zebra hat, and scared the cat. The cat just bolted off. So I will be doing this sans animals with it. But I am so glad that animals could be here. Please have your animals up where we might be able to see them and take pleasure in them. And I'll start with just a few words, and then I'm actually going to have in the chat, although I just found out that the chat has a limit to how long you can put something in, but I'll have that for you in just a moment so you can read along and bless your animals, whether they be living or stuffed or a human near you. In honor of Shabbat Noach, this Shabbat, which we read the story and heard about from Rabbi Jordana of Noah's Ark, we gather to celebrate and bless the variety of life that God has created on our earth. We give thanks for the beauty of the natural world and for the abundance of creatures with whom we share land, seas, and sky. We rejoice in the presence of those special animals that we have taken into our families, our homes, our barns, our fields, and our hearts. We are bound together with them in one great web of life, connected through compassion and concern. Blessed are you, holy source, maker of all living creatures. On the 5th and 6th days of creation, you called forth fish in the sea, birds in the air, and animals on the land. You inspired us to call animals brothers and sisters. We ask you to bless these animals. By the power of your love, enable them to live fully in praise of your name. May we always praise you for all your beauty and creation. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, in all your creatures. And we say, Amen. And then you will see in the chat if you can, or I will lead for each particular animal. And if you do have it, feel free to hold it up if it will allow it, and to show us that creature. So first up, I did an alphabetical order, so not to say that one was better than the other. So I just did alphabetical order. So first, a blessing for birds. Anyone with a bird? I don't see on the screens, but if you have a bird, Yisimcha Elohim ke'of hashamayim, Yishkon min ben ofnaim yitnul kol. May God make you like the birds of the air that nest among the waters and sing. Next is a blessing for cats. If your cat will let you hold it up, I know they usually pick, Amber's got her cat there, so I would be holding, I see Eleanor, I would be holding up mine if it wasn't scared to death. One, I don't even try, the other one wouldn't come up. Yisimcha Elohim ka'aryeh shel Yehuda. May God make you like the Lion of Judah. And dogs, I see a lot of dogs. Dogs, it's your turn. So if you have a dog, whether it's stuffed or real, you can hold up your dog so everyone can see those dog faces. Yisimcha Elohim ka'Kalev hane'eman. May God make you like Caleb, the name Caleb, but is also Kalev, a dog, the loyal one. Now, if you have fish, please don't hold them up. Yisimcha Elohim kedag gadol eved Adonai. May God make you like the great fish, the servant of God. If you have a horse or other large animal, I'm not sure they're in your house with you, but for them you may say, Yisimcha Elohim kerabot ma'asecha Adonai. May God make you like the great creations of God, the large animals of the field, whose deep connection to humans is equal to their great strength. If you have a rabbit or other small creature, Yisimcha Elohim keDavid, Chayot ketonot. May God make you like David, small in stature, but great in ability and gifts. If you have a reptile, I'm glad we're on Zoom. If you have a reptile, Yisimcha Elohim behozek refuat haseref. May God make you with the healing strength of the copper servant. And I'm sorry, the blessing for our stuffed animals got cut off. But for our stuffed animals, or if you happen to have a unicorn or some animal that is mystical, Yisimcha Elohim ka'arvar shina shel Noach. May God make you like the phoenix of Noach, who recognized the task of Noah and held back his own needs to enable the needs of other creatures to be met. And for more information, please see the Midrash on that one. Creator of all the living, we pray to you to guide us, the parents of these creatures, to guide us in the care of our animals. Teach us how to be good pet parents. Ensure that we learn the skills and abilities to sense the needs of our animals. Provide us with your nutritious bounty to feed our beloved pets. Let us also nourish our pet's spirit. May this pet, our pets here, the pets of IHC, be guided in their comings and their goings. And as Rabbi Jordana shared the verse about the promise that God made, the covenant that God made with all of the beings there, all of the offspring to come, everything with birds, cattle, and every wild beast that came out of the ark, may we all fulfill that promise of the covenant, caring for these beloved animals that fill our souls, fill our hearts, and may we take care of them, and may we always learn from these beloved creatures. We say together, Amen, and we end with saying, Baruch Merachem al Habriot, blessed is the one who embraces all creatures. Amen. So give your pets a hug. We can say Mazel Tov on their blessing. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And let's unmute everyone, and we can hear your pets, and they can say Shabbat Shalom, or Shabbat Shalom, or Shabbat Shalom.
Or Shemeow.
Yes, Noach, Shabbat Shalom. Everyone, your unicorn.
Shabbat shalom, y'all.
Shabbat shalom, Betsy.
Shabbat shalom, Stephanie and Mike.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to all.
Shabbat
Shalom.
Peter and Polly.
It's wonderful to see our pets.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Cat for sale.
Cat's inside.
Mr. Bailey made it.
Cat for sale. No, we wouldn't say.
Thank you, IHC, for a beautiful service.
Grabbing my
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, IHC, for a beautiful service.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Matt.
Oh, you got no kidding.
Look.
Matt, you need a horse.
Oh,
Rabbi.
Rabbi.
Oh, you have to bring the horse next time, man.
When she said it, I thought about Mr. Ed poking his head in.
Oh, and then I didn't say it.
Are there any reptiles out there?
The doggy.
I didn't see any reptiles. Do we not have reptiles at IHC?
I hid snakes at Andy Aronson's house. They're there.
Matt, maybe there should be a Pets of IHC video.
We should totally do that. I'd be totally happy to put that together.
We have Iggy.
Oh, yeah, we do have Iggy. Matt left Iggy at IHC, so
Oh, Matt.
he
It's
couldn't be
COVID
here
quarantine.
for this.
COVID quarantine.
No blessing for Iggy. That's too bad.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's so good to see you.
Thank you.
Shabbat
Annie,
Shalom.
your grandpa said Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.